Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our final part of the interview with Paul Lazenby, which brings a little tear to my eye. It has been an absolute joy putting these together, and it was an absolute wonder talking to the man. But, of course, we must talk about his last fight in Pancrase. So, first up, I asked him about his thoughts on Satoshi Hasegawa.
Yeah, I had rolled with Hasegawa a few times in the dojo, but he was one of those guys there who, because I had gotten fit by the time my tenure at the dojo ended, and I was so much bigger and stronger and learned, some basic submission stuff. I could stalemate him. Guys like him and Ito, I could stalemate those guys in the gym where at least I wasn't getting tapped by them all the time. In the dojo, he was just kind of standoffish, but not in a bad way. And that's one thing that I was warned about by Guy Mesger again was he said, look, some of these guys are going to be really cool with you. Some of these guys are going to be a little bit distant with you, but just always remember, no matter what, you will never be Japanese. And that is always going to be prevalent and always going to be overhanging any interaction you have with these guys. And it's the truth. And there were very few exceptions. I would bring up Yanagazawa and they would go, oh, no, Aji's American. He's one of us. But Inagaki was like that too. They loved it. The Lions Den guys loved Inagaki, and so did I. But for the most part, there was that separation where I'll be friendly to you, but you're very much an outsider, and don't forget it. And I got that vibe off of Hasegawa a lot. But he was never mean to me or rude to me or anything. There was one point in our fight where he started showboating a little bit, and I got really mad and started, I reversed him and started trying to smack his face off. But that was just my blood boiling, and he was just doing what he does, man. Showmanship's a big part of MMA, so I don't really have anything bad to say about Hasegawa at all. We weren't friends, but we definitely weren't enemies.
Thanks very much, Mr. Lazenby, and here we are on to his fourth and final fight in the Pancrase ring. He is taking on Satoshi Hasegawa, who is sort of falling behind in terms of the other young boys. Who else started with him? He started at the same time as Keiichiro Yamamiya, and Yamamiya is definitely outclassing him at the moment. Lazenby, he's got a little Canada leaf tattoo there on his chest. I hadn't noticed that before. Alright, shaking hands and ready to go. Alright, let's go. Smart from Hasegawa, shooting in there straight away. Nice! Out Morotogari, I'm going to call that. Outside Reap. Actually, no, it's not a Morotogari because it's not quite a double leg, so I'm going to call that Ko-Uchigari? Ko-Sotogari? Oh-Uchigari. There we go. Knew my judo would get me there in the end. But yeah, standing up and brawling with Lazenby is not what I'd do if I were young Satoshi Hasegawa, because Lazenby's got some big old ham hocks on him. And could definitely clout you quite hard. Lazenby working guard here. Trying to work arm drags, trying to butt scoot away. So doing the right stuff on the ground, if just not necessarily all right altogether. Trying to ankle lock Satoshi Hasegawa from inside of his own guard. Hasegawa dropping back on the leg lock himself. Well done, Lazenby. Out of that one, that was a good escape. Used the leg strength there to come up on top. He's on Hasegawa's back. Ooh, nice crossface. That was real nasty. Good palm strikes from on top too. No response from the crowd on that one. Normally there's a bit of an ooh and an ah when that sort of thing happens, but they seem to have ignored that one. Swig a beer over here. Just keeping myself ever so slightly drunk to good slap there, and the referee has decided he's seen enough of that. That's not Yoshinori Umeki, is that Kosuke Kenji? I think that might be Kosuke Kenji. I've got to run my way back through and have a look at the referees, remember who they actually are. Because Umeki and Kenji are still going today, and if this is Yoshinori Umeki, he's a silver fox these days. He's looking real good. Slaps from on top and a big smile on the face of Satoshi Hasegawa, which is something that Paul mentioned earlier. Gave him a bit of a... made him a bit cranky. Top side control from Hasegawa. Paul working his way out. Hips of Lazenby are a bit stuck, but Hasegawa going to Neon Belly probably will give Paul a bit of a better chance than he had with side control to get the escape. There we go, he's shoved the hips away of Satoshi Hasegawa, which is what you need to do when someone's in Neon Belly on you. Although Hasegawa's back. Tried to palm strike Paul there. Spinning for the armbar. Deep breath from Paul Lazenby there. He's just relaxing, calming down. Referee's legs are in the way. Hasegawa going back to Neon Belly. Hasegawa spinning for the armbar there. It was a nice entry. But the strength of Paul Lazenby is going to come out here because his arms and his legs and arms aren't in quite the right spot to finish that one. So Lazenby's going to get that pass. Yeah. Comes out on top. Sort of just cranking the neck of Hasegawa there. Very much stuck in the ropes. Hasegawa picking his butt up in the air, bridging. Palm strikes from Lazenby. Got a little ooh from the crowd on that one. That one must have been hard. Break, says the referee. Hiroto Soichi called break from the side there, and I think that might be something Lazenby mentions earlier. I didn't see if he had a side choke there, but he might have. Lazenby shoots a double, headbutts Hasegawa. Hasegawa enters the armbar. Nice opportunistic armbar from Hasegawa there, but it's not a good split. Good slap and pass from Lazenby. That's some good MMA there. Works fairly well when the guy on the bottom's a bit smaller than you. Yeah, Lazenby trying to set up arm triangle here. Now he's just cranking on the neck. Definitely a bit more ground and pound than we usually see from Pancrase. Lots more ground and pound than we usually see in Pancrase. Paul definitely wants that side choke, and that's a big boy move. Yeah, he's trying for hammerlocks on that opposite side and then side chokes on the inside side. Those are definitely large person jiu-jitsu moves. Ooh. Oh, cut on the eyebrow of Paul Lazenby. I don't know where that came from. It's not leaking too badly though, so I don't think the referee will be too worried about it. Nice entrance from Hasegawa into that leg attack here. Very nice roll. Lazenby doing the right thing, fighting the legs apart, going for his own toe hold from the looks of things. Needs to adjust the position of his arms there. Oh, and he got caught in a leg lock there. And so he's rolled and caught the ropes. So a lost point from Paul Lazenby. Satoshi Hasegawa had nice leg locks, and if I saw correctly, that was a toe hold and heel pull, which is sort of heel hook-ish, but not actually a heel hook, according to the rules people at Pancrase. So there you go. Back fighting. Cuffs! Smacks the shit out of the back of Hasegawa's head there, but still gets taken down with the Ouchigari. I think I'm getting my terminology there right. Ouchigari, so it's outside and it's with the same side foot. Yeah, it's an Ouchigari. Nice sweep from Lazenby there, and yeah. That's cool. So Hasegawa told him, like, come on, bitch, from the top, and then Lazenby swept him and then pops up and then tells him, come on. So that's good. That's what I believe aura means anyway. Not 100% sure, but I have heard it shouted by a few guys in Pancrase. Gotta work at my Japanese. Back to that big boy pass from Lazenby, and the ropes get in the way, so the referee tells him to stand up. Back fighting. Just, yeah, good front kick there from Lazenby. I was gonna say, just beat the shit out of it. Nice fade in entry from Hasegawa there. Fades in, hits a slap, and then fades in when Lazenby's thinking about the slap and takes him down. So Lazenby needs to learn how to sprawl. Side control here from Satoshi Hasegawa. It's probably useful for Hasegawa that he's managed to hit those takedowns and pass at the same time rather than having to pass the big old tree trunk legs of Lazenby, because that probably wouldn't be an easy thing to do. Referee says stand up. Not enough action, I suppose. Back fighting. Light on the feet is Lazenby, inside low kick. Single leg from Hasegawa. Guillotine from poor Lazenby. Loses that. Hasegawa gets double unders. Lazenby thinking headlock throw. Hits a nice knee. That is a Kochigari. So, nice takedown there from Satoshi Hasegawa. Hasegawa sliding his way through on the pass. Lazenby entering a leg lock fight. Hasegawa, let's see what he does with this. Lazenby doing well there with that defense. Going for his own toe hold. Here it is, toe hold, heel pull. That is, oof, yeah, that'd hurt the knee. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about earlier when I was talking about the leg lock that Satoshi Hasegawa uses to great effect. That is heel hookish, if not a heel hook. Torques the knee in the same way. Lazenby punching him in the body. And that's it. End of the match. Hasegawa holds his head, gives him a cuddle. Oh, good on you, Paul. Alright, thanks ladies and gentlemen. That was an interesting little technical matchup. We had the smaller technical guy versus the larger and strong guy, and technique beats size in this situation. Thanks very much for tuning in, and we will listen to Paul's thoughts on this fight.
Yeah, I was was really crushed by that fight and the Fouquet fight. You know, no disrespect to Mr. Fouquet, but at that point, I walked into the ring mentally defeated, and that's for both fights. And that's taking nothing away from those guys. They both beat me fair and square. But yeah, I think putting me in the ring with Hasegawa was Pancrase trying to get me a win. You know, they're trying to build me into something, build me into a foreign commodity that they can market. And basically, if I couldn't beat Hasegawa, then I didn't really belong on the roster, which is why he didn't see me in the company after that. But Pancrase did everything they could to try to build me into something, and I just wasn't mentally ready. Physically, I developed very quickly. Mentally, I was not ready to assume that role and to get into that ring thinking I can beat this guy. And I remember even a couple of the Japanese guys before the Fouquet fight, they pulled me aside and said, "Look, we've been training with you for 6 weeks. You can beat Fouquet. You have the skills now. You have the ability. You can beat this guy." And I didn't believe it when I got in the ring. And the same thing with Hasegawa. You know, I kept thinking, who am I? I'm just Paul Lazenby, and these are guys who've been living and training as fighters all. And I shouldn't have been thinking that way, because I definitely had a much, much greater chance of winning that Hasegawa fight than I gave myself, and so he won, and more power to him.
I also asked Paul about the particulars of the fight, specifically the toe hold / heel hook thing he was caught with that caused him to grab the ropes for the escape. I asked if he thought that perhaps that, given the rule stated that heel hooks were forbidden, that technique was perhaps cheating or unfair.
No, I was mad at myself because actually the way they allowed the heel hook type movement to be executed gave additional opportunities to escape. And the traditional type of heel hook, inverted heel hook, and regular heel hook is very tight, and once you've got it on, it's very difficult to get out of there. Whereas the two-handed heel hook, there's more room to escape. And I had the leg strength to do it. I used to panic when people got a hold of my legs, and I would freeze up and I would let guys lock me. And again, that's not taking away from them having beaten me. So it didn't feel cheap at all. Although there was one thing that did make me quite angry in that fight, and that's that. Again, this speaks to the flux in the rules system in Pancrase. Is that there are times where you'll see the fighters laying partially under the bottom rope, and the referee will allow the action to continue until somebody reaches up and grabs the rope, or the ropes get in the way. And I got Hasegawa in a side choke, an arm triangle, some people call it, and was just starting to squeeze it. And the referee stops the action. He goes, "Oh, the ropes are in the way," which they totally weren't, and stood us up and put us back in the center. And I think you even see me look up at the referee like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" But again, yeah, it's part of the game. It's their sandbox, and you got to play by their rules sometimes. And that was definitely not the reason I lost that fight. So I'm not going to try to make any excuses.
Finally, I asked Paul about his overall thoughts on his time in Pancrase.
I used to be very tortured about it. I felt horrible about not having justified their investment in me. And it's funny because the theme music I used for the Fouquet fight, it's a band called I'm Mother Earth, a song called One More Astronaut. And if it came on the radio, I would turn it off. I couldn't listen to that song. And I've kind of changed my mind around a bit because in knowing Boss, I've stayed in contact with Boss, and Boss has always told me, he said, "Dude, you got thrown to the lions." Like I made my mental mistakes, but at the same time, it was a crazy position to be in, and I should be regretful to an extent, but not to the extent that I was. I shouldn't beat myself up as much about it. And then reestablishing contact with Funaki and with Suzuki and with guys like that, and they would all say the same thing. Like Funaki, the first time I talked to him, which was just last year. It was the first time I talked to him since 1997, and he said, "Yeah, I still remember that fight. That was a tough match." And that was very charitable of him to say that. He's probably being nice to me, but at the same time, is the fact that these guys have the time of day for me made me realize that I at least did something. I at least accomplished something. And the bottom line is, Pancrase is tremendously important in the history of mixed martial arts. At the time, it was the #1 group in the world. And I'm the first Canadian ever to fight there and the only Canadian ever to fight Funaki. So it made me a fighter when I had no intention of being a fighter. And it laid the groundwork for me later becoming the undisputed Canadian Muay Thai champion, and at the same time being the Canadian mixed martial arts champion. And that's stuff that never would have happened if Pancrase hadn't decided to roll the dice on me and turn me into a fighter. So I'm very appreciative to them. And I'm very proud of having been able to be a part of that company in that point in time.
So thank you once again, Mr. Lazenby. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to him about his time in Pancrase. And I hope you, the audience, have enjoyed it as well. As such, there will be a final episode, which will be all the other little bits and bobs that we talked about. I'll gather those up together and present them for your viewing pleasure. But as for now, we must bid Mr. Lazenby goodbye. Conveniently, however, we can be talking to two more fighters just one more fighter who arrived in Pancrase at this time. Finally, you should all go and buy Paul's book. It is called When We Were Bouncers. There is Volume 1 and Volume 2, and it is about various actors, mixed martial artists, and other personalities who were at one point or another were bouncers, and the stories they have about kicking people out of bars and getting into all sorts of shenanigans. I have yet to read it, but I'm going to pick up the ebook and I'll be presenting a review fairly soon. But as such, I hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. I certainly enjoyed talking to Paul Lazenby and watching his fights with a bit of a first-hand eye on it, and so that has been an absolutely wonderful experience. But that's all for me this time, and I will see you all next time.